Hi, it's time for good energy, and I'm Dr. Julie, and today is Bodyful Day 62, the vestibular sense. And why or how does turn spotting work? All right, today we have no props other than yourself, and we're going to start with our basics. So let's take our deep breath in and release. Deep breath in, get all the way down here from the bottom of those ribs, all the way up to the top. Deep breath in. And release. Now, think about anywhere where you've had any gunk today. I've been hemming trousers today, so thinking about my hands. Deep breath in. And let that stress go. All right, so today we're talking about turn spotting. Turn spotting. What is turn spotting? We see dancers turn spot all the time. When they are turning, they spot in one place and then they whip around quickly so that their head continues. And this is so that they can do a series of turns in a row or a series of turns in a single space rapidly and have a little bit better sense of where they are when they get done. And so the question is, what does turn spotting do to the vestibular system that in dancers that it doesn't do in the rest of us, or it could do in the rest of us? And this gets back to that fantastic concept of adaptation or accommodation. They do it enough that some cool stuff happens to their brain. All right, so first off, how to do turn spotting. Very simply, you can just start by turning and keeping your head in the same place as much as you can, keeping an eye on it, and then whip around as quickly as you can. Now, in Taekwondo, you do the same thing. You track your target if you're going to do a spin kick, and you track your target, and then you come around as quickly as you can so that you keep an eye on that target so that you can hit them. So turn spotting is not just reserved for dancers, but dancers have a tendency to do more than one, and it's reserved for anybody who has to do a rapid whip of the head and still maintain their balance. So if you're going to work on turn spotting, pick a space or pick a point and slowly just work, like here, and just say, how far can I go? It's keeping an eye on the spot, and then come back around. And you can do that, and you can actually start, going up on your toe, pick your spot, come on back. And the idea is that you gradually work up the speed, and then after you've worked up the speed or the velocity, you can start working on doing multiple turns and doing multiple turn spotting, so keeping track of the same point as you turn multiple times, so that your head goes around once really quickly, even though your body is continuously spinning. So if you recall from Bodyful Day 53 and Bodyful Day number 5, where I had the stool out and we were working on the semicircular canals, we know that balance has 3 components. So it has your semicircular canals, it has your vision, and it has your joint response. That can tell you where you are in space. So in turn spotting, what's happening is you are trying to lock out the visual system and just end up with that vestibular and maybe a little joint sense. So you keep your eye in the same place and you come back to that same place because you're trying to trick the visual system into thinking you did not see the world just totally fly past you. All right, now the cool thing about this, the reason why you might want to work on turn spotting, is that when we look at dancers versus non-dancers in dizziness research, we find that dancers because of the practice of turn spotting and adaptation, they do much better. So there was a study that took a number of female dancers and compared them to a number of female non-dancers and put them in a dark room and had them sit in a spinning chair. Now, while they were spinning, they had the ability to pull a lever that said, "I'm dizzy, let's stop." And while they were in the chair, they were getting brainwave measurements as well as eye movement measurements. And what they found was that when dancers were in the chair and spinning, they spun significantly more before they said, "Yeah, that's it, I'm done," before they pulled the lever, versus non-dancers. So first off, dancers spin a lot more. They develop adaptation and accommodation to that spinning movement. Now, what's interesting is that when you look at the brainwave or the white matter activation in the brains of the dancers versus the non-dancers in this task, the dancers had a lower response and the non-dancers had a higher response in the area of their brain, or near the area of their brain that would be considered the semicircular canal or the dizziness detection area of their brain. So the non-dancers had an elevated response to spinning versus non-dancers. Now, what's interesting, and I am not quite sure how we would play this out in terms of aging, but what's interesting is that when you look at brain scans then of dancers and non-dancers with this spinning component, the area of the brain in non-dancers or in dancers is smaller for the semicircular canals, for the part that actually measures where they are in space by their head tipping, versus non-dancers. So non-dancers have a bigger area, whereas dancers have a smaller area. So we've talked about that in terms of touch, and we've said that the more defined you have, the more need you have for a sensory, to make a sensory distinction, the larger the area of your brain that your body starts dedicating. Like if you wanted to detect Braille, your finger has a larger space on your brain versus somebody else who's not detecting Braille. So what this is the opposite. In dancers, the semicircular canals occupy smaller space than non-dancers. And so what they're presuming is that dancers basically say, "I don't need that much information," or "I am going to ignore that information so that I can accomplish the task." Now, if we think about this in terms of aging, as you get older, do you want to have more space for your semicircular canals? I don't know, but we also know that older dancers fare better in balance than older non-dancers. So clearly, even though turn spotting is going to shrink the space in your brain for the semicircular canals, it is an activity that's actually going to improve your overall balance. So what do I suggest? I suggest practicing turn spotting. Again, you can start really slow. So pick your spot, go around, and then turn your head, and then work your way up to faster, and then work your way up to multiples. I'm going to laugh at myself on this one. Clearly not ready to do multiples. Okay. So this is a way to develop adaptation to the sense of dizziness. And it's fun. So who wouldn't want to try it? All right. Have a great Saturday, and I will see you tomorrow. Take care.